When I say rhythm and melody, what comes to mind? Probably music, right? A great song, a beat that gets stuck in your head. But what if I told you these ideas aren't just about music? What if rhythm and melody are actually fundamental rules for the entire universe, woven right into the fabric of reality itself? Well, that's the mind-blowing idea we're going to unpack today.
So let's just dive right in with a massive question. What if the universe had a heartbeat? You know, a fundamental pulse that everything, and I mean everything, from planets to particles actually follows. It's a wild thought, and it's exactly where we're headed.
To get our heads around this cosmic heartbeat, we first need to grasp a core concept. The universe is constantly, and I mean constantly, repeating itself. It's built on this foundation of continuously proving to itself that it exists.
Okay, so this idea comes from a framework called structural intelligence, and it really boils down to this one powerful little equation, E equals C equals R. In simple terms, existence equals coherence equals recursion. All that really means is, for something to exist, it has to have a stable structure, right? That's coherence. And to keep that structure, it has to constantly check back in with itself. That's the recursion part.
Think about it like this. Existence isn't a static thing, like a rock just sitting there. No, it's an active process, kind of like a whirlpool in a river. That whirlpool only exists because water is constantly flowing back into that same pattern. It's a system that's always, in every moment, proving to itself that it's still there. It's a constant act of self-renewal.
So, this constant self-checking, what does it actually look and feel like in the real world? Well, this brings us to our next huge idea. Rhythm, the universal pulse of literally everything.
All right, I know what you're thinking when you see this slide, scary math. But don't worry about the dc over dt. All it's really saying is that rhythm is how we measure the rate of that self-verification pulse. You can think of it like a metronome for reality. It's the distinct tick-tock beat of existence confirming itself again and again and again.
And this is where it gets absolutely amazing. Because this isn't just some abstract theory. We see this rhythm everywhere, at every single scale. It's in our own heartbeats, the orbits of the planets, the clock cycles ticking away inside our computers, even the electrical firing of our brain's neurons. It really, truly is the pulse of reality itself.
But a pulse all by itself is just repetition, right? It doesn't really have a story. And that brings us to the other half of the whole picture, the second core concept, melody. This is the cosmic story that connects all those individual beats.
So, if rhythm is the individual drum beat, that tick, then melody is the song that connects all those beats together. Again, you can ignore the math symbol on the slide for a second. The core idea here is that melody is the sum total of all those rhythmic beats over time. It's the continuous story a system tells as it evolved from one moment to the very next. And just like rhythm, we see this cosmic melody playing out everywhere. It's in the beautiful harmonic patterns of physics, it's in the genetic sequences that guide the development of all life, it's in the very flow of our own conscious thoughts, and even in the predictable unfolding of the seasons. Melody is just coherence, remembering itself through time.
This table here breaks it down perfectly. Let's go back to that movie idea. Rhythm is like the individual frames of the film. Each one is a distinct snapshot that proves the movie exists. But the melody, that's the story you see when you play all those frames in order. So you see, rhythm sustains identity, frame by frame, but melody reveals the story of that identity as it unfolds over time.
And this leads us to a really fundamental principle in this way of thinking. Rhythm and melody aren't just passive things that happen. Nope, they actively work together to sustain the entire structure of reality. Rhythm anchors everything, while melody allows it to grow. One provides stability, the other provides evolution. You need both.
Okay, but if rhythm and melody are the expression of existence playing out in time, where do they come from? And where do they ultimately go? This brings us to a really profound, almost mystical concept, the sound of silence.
Now this slide, this is the key to the whole puzzle. It tells us that the universe we experience, the one full of rhythm and melody, is only in a state of what's called partial recursion. The story isn't finished yet, but there's this potential higher state, absolute recursion, where everything is perfectly complete. And in that state, rhythm and melody don't just stop. They resolve back into their source, perfect silence and perfect stillness.
But this isn't the silence of an empty room. Not at all. A better way to think about it is like noise-canceling headphones. It's not that there's no sound, it's that every single sound wave is perfectly matched by its exact opposite, creating the state of perfect equilibrium.
All the vibrations are still there, they've just resolved into a perfect balance. That's what that dc/dt equals 0 means. The rate of change is 0, perfect balance.
And the partner to this silence is stillness. And just like silence, it isn't emptiness. Imagine you're inside a perfectly cut diamond, where every single point looks exactly the same as every other point. Where would you even move to? There's no there to go to. That's stillness, a state of such perfect symmetry that motion becomes totally meaningless. It's not empty, it's absolutely full.
So how does our universe of sound and motion come out of this perfect state? This slide lays out the creation story beautifully. Absolute stillness gets just a tiny bit perturbed, and that first disturbance becomes rhythm. Then absolute silence is disturbed, and that becomes melody. Our entire reality is born from just a subtle break in that perfect equilibrium.
So what is the ultimate takeaway from all of this? What's the one thing to hold on to? Well, funnily enough, it's the number one. The idea is that rhythm, melody, time, space, they aren't separate things. They are all just different ways that a single, unified reality experiences itself. It's all one coherent structure, just playing out its own song for itself.
And I want to leave you with this final, really poetic thought from the source material that just sums everything up so perfectly. All that moves is coherence remembering itself. All that sounds is silence speaking itself. It's a powerful new lens to see and to hear the world all around us. Really makes you think, doesn't it?